Welcome to the Business of Style podcast with me, your host, Louisa Gabriel. I'm a personal stylist and image strategist who grew a successful six-figure business, and now I'm educating and empowering other personal stylists and image professionals just like you to do the same. So please keep listening to hear the lessons I've learned and the strategies I've used along the way that are guaranteed to take your personal styling career from side hustle to six figures too. Welcome back to the Business of Style podcast. One of the things I find fascinating about running a business today is how differently people make buy-in decisions compared to even 5 or 10 years ago. Think about it. When was the last time you hired someone, booked a service, signed up for a course, or bought something online without doing at least a little bit of research first? Most of us don't. We Google people, we check their websites, we read reviews, we look at their social media accounts. We try to work out whether the person behind the business is actually who they say they are. And honestly, I don't think consumers have ever been more skeptical than they are right now. We're living in a world where anyone can build a beautiful website in a matter of days, if not hours. Anyone can use AI to create endless amounts of content. Anyone can buy followers on Instagram or TikTok. Anyone can pay for a verification badge on social media. And because of that, people have become much more careful about who they trust. I think this is particularly relevant for personal stylists and image consultants because so much of what we do is built on relationships. Before a client hires you, they're trusting you with their money, their appearance, their confidence, sometimes even major life transitions. That's a lot of trust to place in someone that you have never met. So today I want to have a conversation about trust, not from the perspective of marketing tactics or growth hacks, but from the perspective of what actually makes people trust a business in 2026. So let's dive into it. One of the biggest changes that I personally have noticed is that many of the traditional signals of trust don't really mean what they used to. So there was a time when you jump on social media and you would see a verified social media account and it felt really impressive, right? You assumed that that person must be really well established, that they had achieved something significant. Today, most people understand that this verification, this blue check mark, can be purchased. The same applies to follow accounts on social media. Years ago, if you saw someone that had 50,000 followers, it was impressive. It instantly impressed people. Nowadays, most consumers know that followers can actually be bought and engagement can be manipulated. Images can be edited and content can be generated automatically. The internet has made us all a little more suspicious, but I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. What I think has happened is that people have shifted from looking for signals to looking for proof. That's a phrase that I've really been thinking about a lot lately. People used to look for signals, now they look for proof. A signal was a blue tick. Proof is evidence that you know what you're talking about. A signal might be a luxury lifestyle photo. Proof is showing your work. A signal might be claiming expertise in color analysis, but proof is demonstrating that you have that expertise. And I think that that's an important distinction. If you think about your own behavior as a consumer, you will probably recognize these things that I'm talking about. If you've considered hiring someone, what are the things that you do? You investigate. You start looking for that evidence. You probably go to Google or maybe AI. You visit their website. You look for testimonials. You check whether they have professional qualifications. You search for those reviews online. Maybe you look at their LinkedIn profile. You try to build a picture of who they are. So, in other words, what you're doing is you're verifying their claims. And your potential clients in your personal styling business, your image consulting business, your color analysis business are doing exactly the same thing. Something that I often hear from new stylists is, how do I get clients to trust me? Well, the reality is that trust doesn't usually come from convincing someone of something. It comes from making it easy for them to verify what you are saying. It's about being that open book and not hiding behind some kind of online persona. It comes from making it easy for them to verify everything that you are saying. One of the simplest ways to do that is by being visible. If someone Googles your name, what do they find? Do they find a website? Do they find a LinkedIn profile? Do they find a blog, maybe a podcast? Is there a business directory listing? Anything that confirms you're a real professional operating a real business. Can they find that? You don't need magazine features or television appearances. You simply need a digital footprint. And the more information that people can find out about you, the more comfortable they start to feel with you. And that brings me to something else that I've also noticed online. A lot of people seem more focused on looking like a stylist than actually showing their work as a stylist. Now, before I continue, I want to say this is not a criticism at all, and I don't want you to take it as that. Social media is difficult. It's a difficult landscape that we have to try and navigate. It's a minefield, right? And we're all trying to just figure out what content actually works. And they keep changing things. So we figure it out and then we have to try something different. But I do think there is a difference between content that creates an impression and content that builds trust. And that is something we really need to be very cognizant of when we are creating content and posting. We've all seen the videos. Stylists walking through luxury department stores, shopping for clients, browsing designer collections, holding all those shopping bags from Chanel or Yves Saint Laurent. We've seen them sitting in a stylish cafe with a laptop. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. But on their own, they don't necessarily tell me or potential clients anything about your expertise. What builds trust is showing the actual work. Show me a styling board. Show me a wardrobe edit. Show me how you solved a client's specific style challenge. Show me how you approach color analysis and work things out. Show me what your styling or your color analysis process is. Because expertise is actually far more interesting than performance is. And I think consumers are becoming increasingly skilled at spotting the difference. People want to know what happens behind the scenes. They want to understand how you think. They want to see the value that you provide. And the good news is that you don't need a huge audience to do that. You simply need to be willing to share your actual work. And this also links to the conversation around authenticity. Authenticity has become one of those words that nowadays is used so often that sometimes I think it's losing its meaning. But when I think about authenticity in business, what I'm automatically drawn to is consistency. Are you the same person everywhere? Okay, think about that. Everywhere you show up, online, in real life, are you that same person? Are people seeing exactly the same thing? Or are you posting something on social media because you're trying to generate some engagement, but then you're commenting on a different platform that shows a completely different side of the story? Think about that. Does your website sound like you, or is it just manufactured? Did you have AI write it so it has that more robotic feel to it? You want your website to actually sound like you. Do your social media posts sound like you? Do your emails sound like you? Or are you trying to become a version of yourself that you think people will find more impressive? One of the easiest traps to fall into as a business owner is comparison. And trust me when I say we all do this. Even the most successful business owners at some point have fallen down the comparison trap. So you are not alone. It's common. You see another stylist content, it's performing well. And then suddenly you're trying to sound like that other stylist. You see another consultant presenting themselves in a certain way. And so you start to copy it because, hey, it's working for them. So why is it not going to work for you? The problem is that people can often sense when something isn't genuine. Okay. You don't need to become someone else in order to build trust. You need to become more recognizably yourself. Another area where trust has become increasingly important is in qualifications and training. And this is something that I find interesting because I've noticed that many professionals are often reluctant to talk about their credentials. I don't know, maybe they worry that it might sound arrogant or that they're sounding boastful. But there is a significant difference between boasting and simply providing evidence. If you've invested in professional training, then tell people about it. If you've earned certifications, display them. And especially if you're telling people that you're certified and that you're trained in certain things, back it up. Provide the evidence to support it. Make it easy for potential clients to be able to verify your expertise. So if you're saying that you're certified through the Style Academy International, they see the certificate. Maybe post the link so that they can actually link and find out what the Style Academy International actually is and what you are trained in, and have a place where they can actually reach out and verify that you are certified. We have seen an increase over the past year, I would say, in people actually reaching out who are not wanting to take a course with us, but they've seen a stylist online, one of our graduates, or someone saying they're a graduate, and they want to simply verify that that person is telling the truth. So we want to make it easy for those potential clients to be able to verify your expertise too. And this is, I think, is really important, particularly now, because one of the biggest challenges facing consumers is the rise of fake expertise. And I think we need to talk about AI for a moment, right? AI is an incredible tool, don't get me wrong. It's really helping a lot of businesses become more productive and more efficient. But at the same time, it has also created an environment where appearing knowledgeable is easier than ever. Someone can generate hundreds of social media posts because of AI. Someone can create articles without having the knowledge themselves. They can produce content that sounds authoritative in their industry, even when they're not. But content isn't the same as competence. And I think consumers are becoming increasingly aware of that specific distinction. They're asking deeper questions. What experience does this stylist or color analyst have? Can they solve real world problems? Can they solve my problems? Can they demonstrate their actual process? Can they explain why they make certain recommendations? Experience leaves fingerprints that AI can't replicate. And that's why showing your work is becoming so important in this day and age. Now, of course, trust isn't only built through content. Some of the strongest trust builders are surprisingly the unglamorous things that we do. Things like replying to promptly, being professional, having clear contracts for our business, communicating expectations clearly, following through on the things that we promise, being reliable. These aren't things that typically go viral on social media, right? Your post isn't going to get millions of views and millions of likes of you showing your business contract. But they're often the reasons that clients refer you to other people that they know. When people describe businesses they trust, they're usually talking about consistency rather than content. The business that does what it says it's going to do, the professional who shows up when they say they will, the person who follows through. Trust, it isn't built in one big moment. It's built through dozens of small moments over time. And finally, I want to address something that I think holds a lot of new business owners back. And that is the belief that trust comes from being well known, and probably specifically well known on social media these days. I really don't think it's true, and it's not what I see at all. It's not what I have experienced in my business because I am by no means famous on social media, and it's not what I'm seeing from other successful stylists and color analysts either. Trust doesn't come from fame, okay? It doesn't come from having the biggest audience. It doesn't come from awards or media features or celebrity clients. And, those things can certainly help, but they're not prerequisites. Some of the most trusted professionals that I've ever encountered aren't famous at all and don't have thousands of followers. Some of them don't even show up on social media at all, but they've simply spent years building a reputation. And reputation is really just trust accumulated over time. If you're listening to this and you're in the early stages of building your business, well, that's actually good news because almost everything we discussed today is within your control. You can be visible, you can be honest, you can show your work, you can communicate professionally, you can display your qualifications if you have them, you can be consistent, and you can be yourself. And those things matter far more than most people actually realize. The more I think about it, the more I believe that trust isn't built through appearances anymore. It's simply built through evidence. Evidence that you're qualified, evidence that you're actually doing the work you say you're doing, evidence that you can deliver results, and evidence that you're who you say you are. Because in a world where almost everything can be manufactured, trust has become one of the few things that can't. That's it. That is today's episode. Thank you so much for listening once again, and I will catch you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Business of Style podcast, then don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll be notified when a new episode is available. And of course, if you're looking for additional training and resources to help you in your career as a personal stylist, then be sure to visit my website, styleacademyintl.com.